God bless everybody today. It's December 24th of 2022. I just caught this video on someone else's YouTube site. You can go out and look at her stuff. I don't follow some of her train of thought, but she does do a good job on a number of things, and she does believe that Turkey is a main factor, as I do, in the days to come. But this is a lead up to the Daniel 8 prophecy that I've been talking about, how Erdogan is getting ready to do this Operation Claw Sword. It's actual land invasion into Syria and Iraq. He's just gone to Sweden, or dealt with Sweden up there in the NATO agreement, and they're not coming up to any consensus. So I think Erdogan's going to leave NATO in the near future because he's asking for an extradition of a Kurdish man up there to Turkey, and they're denying that. And so I believe this is going to force Erdogan into a corner to where he's just basically going to drop NATO and launch a land invasion into Syria and Iraq, which is then going to culminate into a war in Iran, possibly in the next month or so here. But I wanted to show you this video about, this is the Turkish Interior Minister, Süleyman, which is really interesting because I'm talking about the tomb of Süleyman Shah. But this is Süleyman Soylu. I'm not sure if I'm saying that properly, but he's indicating that he's saying that if the Western countries can't deal with the problems in Syria and take care of their problem on their border within Syria and Iraq, that Turkey's basically going to do it for them and get out of their way. And he's also indicated that he would liberate all of these different towns as he's talking, and that he would then become the president of the Middle East. So Erdogan would then have this blanket authority over the Middle East, and we talked about how he's going to form Ezekiel 38 and 39 right after Daniel 8 and the destruction of Persia and Iran, once the Kurds align with Iran. We talked about this quite a bit on how Iran and the Kurds are being pushed into a corner, and the Kurds are getting genocided down southeast into the Baghdad. This isn't happening this moment, but as they're getting pummeled on the northern tier, they're going to start to have to move southeast. Now, I noticed earlier I was getting reports that a lot of the Kurdistan people are heading towards Europe. But as Turkey shuts that line down to the southeast and to Iraq and Syria, they're going to be forced to Iran. A large portion of Kurdistan people up in Iran, so this is going to affect the leadership of Iran tremendously. There was also another report that just came out that one of the ex-Ayatollahs came out and basically said that if Iran doesn't work with the protesters, that they're basically going to lose their regime. So there's a lot happening out here. But let's look at this video real quick, and you can determine if you think Erdogan's going to go in fairly quickly, as I do. Actually, I was just talking to a few people about this and how I found, I believe, in Daniel 10, this is going to happen fairly quickly. And so let's watch this video real quick. She did a really nice job to give us this, and it's something that I had not found, and I can't seem to find it out there in the main street. So this is pretty important. So let's play this and see what...
Erdogan, evet, sadece Türkiye'nin Cumhurbaşkanı değildir, bunu bilmemizi isterim. Bir kardeşiniz olarak söylüyorum. Bunu bir kardeşiniz olarak tekrar hatırlatıyorum. Eğer Şam'da, Bağdat'ta, Erbil'de, eğer Yemen'de, Libya'da, Lübnan'da, eğer Afganistan'da ve Pakistan'da huzur gelecekse bunlar Amerika'nın ve Avrupa Avrupa'nın baskısından kurtulacaksa vallahi de bu topraklar sağlayacak, billahi de bu millet sağlayacak. Biz artık eski bir Türkiye değiliz. İlk kez 300 yıldır bir fırsat yakaladık. İlk kez Batı'yı lidersiz ve vizyonsuz yakaladık. İlk kez biz 100 yıl önümüzü görüyoruz diyen Batı'yı bu kış soğuktan titrerken yakaladık, soğuktan titrer. Gıda krizine düşünce tahıl koridorunu açmak için tıpış tıpış geldiler mi? Geldiler mi? Şimdi enerji koridoru yeni olsun diye üşümeyelim. Fabrikalarımızı çalıştıralım. Kışın sıcak olalım diye Tayyip Erdoğan'ın kapısını çalıyorlar mı? Türkiye'nin kapısını çalıyorlar mı? Daha yeni başladık. İnanın sorumluluğumuz çoktur. Biz çünkü alelade bir millet değiliz. Biz alelade bir ülke değiliz. Biz alelade bir devlet değiliz.
So I've been talking about this ramping up, how Erdogan is the catalyst. He's probably the white horseman of Revelation, and how he's going to bring a quarter of the world into war within the next few months. And I've been talking about how this could have start to occur, as I've talked about in Daniel 10. Let's go to that real quick. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I just did some recent videos about Daniel 10 and how I found this date stamp. I thought it would allude to a potential attack on Iran in January of this next year on the 24th day, as it indicates in Daniel 10 verse 4. So it says in the 4 and 20th day of the first month. Now if you go into my paradigm, it works off the Gregorian calendar. Everything that I presented to this point on that paradigm works off the Gregorian calendar. Now he's talking about the Tigris River, or the Hezekiah. It's the same thing. Tigris is the Euphrates. This flows from Turkey all the way down to around Shush, Iran, and down through that area. The thing that I caught just recently, though, other than this date stamp, and that if you go into verse 20, it indicates that this would be a war against Persia, and that after Michael attacks, that the king of Greece, or the prince of Greece, which is Turkey, would come against him. And so it's important that we look at this prophecy and try to see this, discern whether it affects us. Now, he tells us that this is a 21-day war in this prophecy. And so I had a couple questions when this arose, because Daniel is mourning in this process. In Daniel 10, now we're talking about Cyrus, so this is the fourth king that Daniel's been under duress, and he's been in captivity. And so Cyrus is the last of the kings. And Daniel dies shortly after Cyrus becomes king, and brings religion back to Christianity in general, because he rebuilds the temple and some different things like that. And so Daniel, it's really interesting that he's buried in Shush, Iran. He's having these visions around Shush, Iran, between Baghdad and Shush. At this case, he's in the Tigris River, or the Euphrates River, at the very bottom around Shush and Baghdad. And I keep talking about how the Kurds are going to be driven from the north to the southeast and pulled down between Baghdad and Shush, Iran. And then when this happens, they would align with Iran, because they would be forced into a position of compromise. Turkey is going to be attacking them from the west and the north, and Iran is placing pressure on the other side. And so the Kurds are having to figure out how they're going to deal with this situation. And what's going to happen based on history is the Kurds were going to get ready to attack Iran, and then they capitulate and say, look, we would rather join you because Turkey's going to come over and smash both of us if we don't join together and attack them. But this isn't going to work out based on Daniel 8, because it clearly states that Turkey would destroy both these nations, or the two horned ram. So we need to watch this. The thing that I was looking at here that I thought was extremely important, though, was because he's mourning for 3 weeks, he knows something's happening. He's on the ground. He's in Persia, Iran, down by Shush. He's seeing this attack starting to manifest itself between the Persians, the Medes, and the Babylonians, which is Turkey in this modern day case. And what's going to happen is the Babylonian or the Turkey starts to slide down south and push them southeast. The Kurds slide down towards Shush as they collapse. They get to a position to where they're going to attack Iran, but don't. They actually concede to join Iran because they're being pressured from Turkey. And so both these countries are going to come together, both these nations of people are going to come together, and we're going to see an attack of Turkey on them. One thing that I was looking at, though, is if he's mourning for 3 full weeks prior to the actual vision, so he's seeing this happen, and then God comes down, or Jesus comes in front of him and says, look, I'm going to show you the vision, I'm going to show you the meaning of this vision, and that we're going to have this 21-day war beginning around the 1st of the month on the 24th day, and that this would radiate for 21 days, and then after that 21 days we would see Michael, Archangel Michael, step in to basically take on the Prince of Persia. And so this is extremely important as you walk through the prophecy, that you realize that Michael, and here it is in 13, verse 13, the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 1 21 days. So for 21 days he withstands this attack by Turkey. Or he withstands the attack by the Kurds, because if you look at it later as it moves forward, it indicates that Michael goes forward and then the king of Greece comes after. So my thought is that the Kurds are in the process of attacking or having a conflict with Persia, and then because they see Turkey in pressure and Iran's getting pressured over the bomb and destroying Israel, and so Turkey's not going to allow that to happen either, and so both these nations are under duress, and Turkey's going to be the catalyst. As you can see, they have a mission of rebuilding this Ottoman Empire by the end of 23, as he's indicated for over 15 years that he's going to do. So my question is, if you take this date stamp of the first month of the 24th day, which would be January 24th, and you take that back 3 weeks because he's mourning 3 weeks prior to this, that would take you to January 3rd. And I've been indicating that I believe that Erdogan would attack this, or at least launch the massive invasion of the ground forces by after the 1st of the year. And it would fall in line that it could happen between the 3rd of January, that January 24th date stamp that he has here, and 21 days after that, which is what Michael's telling, or Jesus is telling us in this prophecy in verse 13, that this was a 21-day war, and that would take you to February 14th of 2023, which is actually Valentine's Day. So there's a 42-day gap period that I'm looking at. The start of the land invasion, 21 days to an attack on Iran, and then possibly another 21 days to of Turkey attacking Iran itself after they've had the Kurds align. Then that would put us into a position to where God would send in Michael, and they would annihilate these two nations. Now, do realize I'm not against any nation here. I'm just trying to decide what the prophecies are telling us and how that's going to affect us as we move forward. So I'm not against the Kurds. I'm not against Iran. I don't like Iran. I don't like their policy. I don't have anything against their people. It's just the regimes or the dictators that run these companies, these countries, like Erdogan does in Turkey, just like Putin does in Russia, just like Xi does in China. You're going to see the same thing in Iran with their leaders. But when their ex-Ayatollah comes out and says, look, you need to work with these people, or this is going to be a problem, they're already getting pressured to join with the Kurds. And this is extremely important if you go into Daniel 8, that the Kurds have to align somehow. They're either forced into this alignment, they're put into a position to where they're at conflict with Iran, but somehow these two nations come together fairly quickly. And so, as you can see through this video, that we're going to start to see this invasion occur. I believe this is going to happen shortly after the holiday event and first of the year, and this is going to accelerate into two things: Iran getting attacked in January and February of this year, and that moving into an attack of Israel through Egypt, because Turkey will take Iran out first, move to Egypt, and then they're pulled up between the two seas, and then they attack Israel. And I indicated on that paradigm how that could happen in October of 23. So if you come out to endofdaysurvival.com, free Wix site. I sell nothing on this site. I just try to analyze the Bible and the current day events through eschatology. You go down the page a little bit. You click on this fourth PDF file. It will upload a timeline for you so you can see the paradigm. I've done videos on this also so you can see that. When you go to this timeline, you click on that PDF. It brings forth this chart. Now, in this chart, and there's a lot going on here, we're going to basically concentrate on this area in here because this is where we are in time. So I want to enlarge this so you can see it. So if you come in here and you look at this portion, I've indicated that on January 24th of 2023, as I just showed you in Daniel 10, 4, 13, and 20, that all this is happening. That's verses 4, 10, and 13 of Daniel chapter 10, just so you understand. That Iran would be attacked by Turkey for 21 days. Now, if Daniel's in mourning for 3 weeks prior to that, then you could actually move this back to January 3rd, if you get what I'm talking about. 21 days minus 24 gets you January 3rd. Daniel's already under distress because he knows that there's something going on the ground. You realize that Daniel was like third in charge in that nation because he was exonerated and uplifted in his ability due to his prophecy for 4 different kings, and the last one being Cyrus, and he's talking about Cyrus in Daniel 10, so this is the last of the 4 kings that Daniel deals with while he's in 70 years of captivity. And so he's not just anybody. Daniel's a main player in the hierarchy of the system in Persia, and so he is going to know these things, and so he's going to see this attack coming. He realizes, due to the prophecies of Jeremiah, Isaiah, and all these other people that have predicted all this, that this is coming, and this would happen at the end, just as he told Cyrus that he would be the king that overthrows the Babylonians. And so we know this is coming. We know this is coming. And so if you look at this, you'll realize that we need to watch this window between January 3rd, January 24th, and this February 14th, 2023. And the reason that is it's a 21 gap between the 24th prior and the 21-day gap after. And so there's a 42-day gap I'm looking at. Now, I'm not saying I know for sure anything's going to happen here because I don't have a crystal ball. I'm just saying I'm showing you the evidence of what Turkey's doing, what their plan is, how they're going to start to invade through this Operation Claw Sword, and that this is going to start fairly soon. And I believe the rejection of Sweden and Finland and this non-extradition of this Kurdish person from Sweden to Turkey, as Erdogan wants, is going to be the catalyst, on top of some of the other things that are going on in Syria, because you've had some casualties and loss of life through some of the artillery shelling and things that he's doing there. And we also had that Istanbul bombing from that Kurdish person that, well, we don't know, but they said it was a Kurdish person. And so this is another catalyst on why he thinks that this is going to happen. And then also in this video, if you watched, he indicated that the West doesn't have the leaders or the ability to fix the problem. And so he's saying he's going to do it. And I believe I would take Erdogan at his word, just as Putin is doing what he said he was going to do and rebuild the old communist footprint. We're going to see the old Ottoman footprint rebuilt as it was. And you can see those footprints in World War I, and you can see those footprints in Alexander the Great in the Ottoman era. And as he's indicated in that video, after 300 years of decline of the Ottomans, they're going to revise this thing. They're going to bring it back. And then what they're going to do is they're going to create a caliphate against the Jews and the Christians. And this is going to cause a lot of problems for all of us. So God bless everybody. Keep an eye on this thing. It's going to start to transpire quickly. I'm having dreams, so I think the acceleration is coming. And so just realize that we need to watch Turkey. Always keep your eye on Israel and Turkey. And I believe Iran won't be a factor because they have just indicated that their enrichment process has moved up, and Turkey is not going to allow them to nuke God's seat. So this is going to get interesting quickly. God bless everybody. Find the open door. Find Jesus. It's the only way to get to heaven. God bless and have a great night.